Going everyone, welcome back to another XRP update. It has been a while and I hope you're all well. Now I actually flipped bearish all the way back early February, even though there was a bullish pattern forming. Now that was just simply due to the wick sizing. When I see this historically, we tend to fill it in. We've gone ahead and done so all these months later. But it's all the way back there where I decided I'm going to start scaling out of altcoins. The Discord was well aware of that and I was only buying Bitcoin actually from before that point back in December. But yeah, this was a signal to start exiting. I was still DCAing Bitcoin. I've DCA'd all the way down just to create a better base for me. Otherwise, other altcoins, maybe not XRP so much because it is only down 37%. It's one of those altcoins that has held up the best. That is mainly due to how well it pumped from November. One of the best coins, I think we can compare it to HBAR as the two coins that pump the best. But just like HBAR and XRP, I've been bearish from that moment. We had this bullish falling wedge. The target is not actually expecting higher than where this pattern began. So it's just taking us back to here. When you place the fibs on that move down, we can see the 886 fib, $3.15 was not only the target out of the falling wedge, but the target anyways out of the fibs. Once this level is broken, the reversal wave is created. That means we can actually target and believe with confirmation this is what's next. That's what the expected targets would be for XRP one day when $3.15 is broken. Unfortunately, unless we see $3.15 as support, there's no way in hell those targets are happening. And that's crazy to say because you can see with hindsight, and hindsight's hell of a drug, but let's say from there it moved up and it hit $5 or even $6.50. Now you'd look back and say, oh, that was the bottom. But of course, that's not how it's played out. If in the case that it did, you'd say, look, that was the best point of entry. I should have been buying all the way as it was going up and maybe buying more aggressive when that was taken out. But without that being the case, in the real scenario, had we continued to be buying all the way up through here and getting more convinced that we will break out the higher we get, so that means maybe betting bigger in these areas, maybe betting bigger as we're breaking out of this area as well. But 315 net was never broken, and all those gains and any buys up here currently in minus, or all the gains from here back to where we were. Again, this example is not the best to show on XRP because it literally is the number one or number two altcoin this whole correction for holding up. So they've gone down the least, XRP and HBAR. There's many altcoins in hell of a mess. Hell of a mess. If you remember back in February, you can see the difference between that in February for XRP. You go to Hyperliquid, that same area, which was over here, look how much lower it went from that point. Let's go from the wick. It went down minus 66%. It's currently down minus 43%. So there was quite a jump back up. Now, XRP wasn't as volatile to the downside. So that's why this example is not the best to show on XRP. But yeah, it was right to flip bearish here. It's right to understand. We need to all understand that while under $3.15, those expected targets are not occurring. If you are trying to prepare for that, if you want to take action on these low prices, do what you want. I'm just telling you what I'm doing, my thought process about it, because I've lived through getting manipulated enough times. I know, okay, the optimal conditions, if you don't want to get manipulated, if you don't want their chances of losing further money, if you want a situation where I can buy and not have to really worry so much about another minus 30% or another minus 20% on a coin like XRP, then just wait for that moment, because buying down here, we can see we got played around these last few months. It hasn't gone anywhere. And maybe a few days or a week into this, when it left $1.78 and we're now at $2.80, I'm really, well, not me personally, but people are really feeling the FOMO. Oh, damn, I missed out on the bottom. Not going to get those low prices again. I'm going to go big here because we're about to break out. And that's just not the right attitude. We need to have that confirmation. Wait for the 886 to break. Then we have that confirmation. Invest however you like. We're in a situation where comparing to now, it's going to be easy mode. Nothing's ever easy mode, but comparing it to now, yes. We're expecting new higher highs, new all-time highs consistently once that's broken. But until then, there is going to be that continued risk of this head and shoulders pattern breaking down further. So over my updates the past couple of months, I've been suggesting $1.79 as the final support level. At all costs, this can't be lost. However, even getting down to this zone, although it's bullish by maintaining it, we're not getting downtrend continuation. There are still many bearish signals looming over our heads, even with this holding and creating this bounce. So we've got multiple moving averages, but they're not even my worry because we've seen the moving averages broken on a few occasions, not really listened to, broken through and then back under, getting those fake outs. I'm more concerned about this Fibonacci level, the 886, but we can also see tying into that level is the head and shoulders neckline. We can see as we extend this into the future, crosses with the 886 fib. So it's quite funny that months later, we can see that. Now we can see a move up into the 886 would just be retesting this neckline as resistance. And that's why a move up from here into the 886 doesn't mean anything. We need to see that actually flipped into support. A move up into there doesn't mean much. Now let me show you some examples of that. So in this circled area, which was the entirety of 2024, we were living through a very nasty, boring correction. The altcoins were getting decimated. And at every local bottom, thinking it was the actual long-term bottom, there was a sustained move up for like a month-long period. We're getting excited. We're feeling the FOMO. I've learned through this past year. So it was living through thinking the bottom's in, buying all the way up, getting even more confident, buying all the way up until that point and then getting wrecked. And you can see the lows on Bitcoin. Looking at it, doesn't look that bad. Percentage-wise, it isn't bad. Minus 7% difference. On the altcoins, it could have been like a minus 50%, minus 60, minus 70% difference. It is crazy. On each one of these drops, like this entirety of a drop, minus 23%, we were getting altcoins going minus 50, minus 75. Here, another minus 25% drop. So we'll talk about that in a second. So we can see that failed. Even pumping up into there doesn't mean much. We need to see it broken. So we can't even get excited if XRP actually pumps to $3.15. It's crazy. I know it sounds wild, but that is the reality. And when you put that new low in again, we think, okay, now that we've lost the low, recovered it, recovered the moving averages, surely I can get excited because this is more bullish than back then. Once again, it pumps to the 886 all the way up. A month past, guys. Look, 30th of April, 7th of June. Over a month passes. What happens once again? Hits the 886, but doesn't flip it in support. So a pump to $3.15 on XRP doesn't mean much because you can see new lows form once again. And we can do this once more with that new low. 886, we got that pump in duration, 5th of July, 29th of July, almost a month passes. Every day bullish, living through it. You're going to be buying on any occasion that you have spare money into the alts. That dump there, you can see it's a new lower lows from the 886, minus 30%. Imagine what some altcoins are doing on that if Bitcoin is dumping that much, guys. You're getting minus 70% dumps on some alts. Now, not all, like a coin like XRP, obviously not. But the smaller ones, yes, absolutely. So we really need to be careful because what is at the 886? Not only do we know it needs to break, not only have we seen previous examples, it pumped into it and still went lower, but the fact that the head and shoulders neckline is there really worries me. And that is my main point of this video today. Until $3.15 is recovered, I'm not going to change the way I'm talking. I'm not going to change this bias just simply because I've shown you what I've lived through and I'm not going to let that same situation happen again. I have to learn from it and make sure that I'm doing something in my power to make sure I don't do the same mistake once more. So that is it from me today. I want to keep making these updates. Since the beginning of February, where I flipped bearish, it's only gone lower. There have been these moments where we've seen breakouts and you're getting comments laughing at me. But in the end, I'm the last one laughing because they're short-term lived. We're only going to get sustained moves on the break of 315. Pumping into 315 is not good enough. Only once it's broken will I flip bull, and I'll be more bullish than all of you because I know the consequences of these things. I've been doing it for 5 to 6 years. If you want to get educated, use the links down below. I'm not seeing many people doing the education recently. Go ahead and check it out. It is worth it. You're definitely going to learn something new, whether it's through the ebook, the one-to-one, or the Discord group community. I post more exclusive content in there, whether it's videos, live streams, or others like-minded like yourselves sharing their point of views as well. Cheers, like, subscribe, comment, and share. See you in the next one. Peace.